Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to another computer science lecture. I hope you guys have understood everything we have discussed so far, and you're also doing good, in fact great. If you have any problems or you have not understood anything, you are free to contact me, comment below, and I'll definitely respond. That being said, we were doing section number 7, algorithm design and problem solving. So today we are going to start section number 7.5, validation and verification. Validation, so let's discuss first of all what is a validation check and what is a verification check. Validation check means to confirm that all the data being accepted by the program is reasonable or sensible. It means that it should lie within a specific range. Whereas verification simply means that, or it simply confirms that the data being accepted or entered is the same as source data and has not been altered while inputting. There are 4 methods of verification: double entry, visual check or screen check, parity check, and checksum. These 2 are you can use them as an examples, but they are not explicitly a part of your section number 7 anymore. They are rather permanently moved to section number 2, methods of error detection. But if by any chance the examiner gives you a question, so you should know these 2 also come under verification checks. Now examiner doesn't really require the details of double entry or screen or visual check basically, but I'll tell you anyways. Double entry means taking entry of the same data twice and then using logic to compare both. Like you are supposed to retype your password when you are registering for a website, whereas screen or visual check means that you have the handwritten or a printed document in your hand and you compare it with whatever you have typed on screen using your own eyes in order to confirm that you have not made any mistakes. Whereas when it comes to validation checks, examiner not only wants you to tell the name of different validation checks, he also wants you to explain them and use them in algorithm wherever possible as well. So validation checks are a very different matter. So let's just dive in and see how many types of validation checks are there. The first and most common is known as a range check. It means checking whether the inputted data lies in a specified range or not. It can be applied in an algorithm by using the if statement. For example, if student marks is less than 0 or student mark is greater than 100, then you would generate an error. Otherwise, you would accept the value. Obviously, if you are entering the scores for a test or an exam, it cannot be less than 0, and the percentage or the marks can in most cases not be cannot be greater than 100. So this specifies that the range is from 1 till 99, 1 till 100 or 0 till 100. The next one is length check. Length check means to check that data is of a given character length. It should contain a specified number of characters. Like you often see an error when you're choosing a password for any of your accounts, that the password should be at least 8 characters long. It can be applied in an algorithm by using, again, if statement. Most of the validation checks are, since they are validation check means that the data should be sensible, there's only one way to check that, and that is using if statements or selection methods. If length, this is a library routine that is included in the new syllabus that returns the length or the number of characters in a given string. So if length password is not equal to 8, This simply means if length password is not equal to 8, means whatever password you have entered, if it is not equal to 8, then you are going to get some error, obviously. Or you can also use if length family name is greater than 30 or length family name is less than 2, then you would have an error. The third type of validation check is the type check, which checks that the data entered is of a specific data type only. Like in name, when you are writing your name, you cannot use numbers. When you are writing your age, for example, you cannot use letters. Or when you are writing your cell phone number, you cannot use letters, etc. It can be applied in algorithm by using isDigit function, or isString function, or isBoolean function. Else you can also write it as a range check. But this can only work for age or maybe a cell phone number. If age dot isDigit, then accept, else reject. Or if name dot isString, means if the name entered is of data type string, then accepted, else rejected. Or if choice is boolean, then you would accept it, else you would reject it. Or you can also write for age, you can also write it as a range check. For example, if age is less than 0 and age is greater than 100, then you would have an error. There would be an or over here, not and. The fourth one is character check, and it means to check that the inputted data doesn't include any invalid characters. For example, if somebody's name is Tom, then it is written as T-O-M, Tom, and not T-0-M. It can be applied in an algorithm by using input username, length equals to length username. Again, len or length. Length is the function that returns the number of characters in a given string or a given variable. For x equals to 0 to length, what you need to do is if username x is the counter variable over here, equals to exclamation mark, or if it contains any @ print username can't contain @ or exclamation mark. These three lines you can use to convert your to apply a character check. Next we have is a format check. What the format check does is that it makes sure that the data entered is in a predefined format. For example, NIC numbers start from 42 and they have 2 dashes in between. It can be applied in an algorithm by using please enter an ID number in the format ATM1111. Input ID number, then we break this ID number into 2 parts. The first contains the first, second, and third member of this ID, and the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. The last 4 characters are placed into a variable that is known as last. Length equals to length ID number. If length equals to 7 and first equals to ATM and last is greater than equals to 0000 and less than equals to 9999, then accept equals to true, else output ID not acceptable, please try again. This means that if it is checking whatever length you have, whatever ID number you have inputted. For example, I input 1563, then the first thing it is going to check that the length should be 7. Okay, it is 7, so first this check is done, and the first should be ATM. The first 3 numbers should be ATM. Yes, done. The second check also done. The last number should contain 4 numerics, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The third check also passed. That means I will have the result as true or accepted. But if I write something like m. Then the first check would be if length equals to 7. It is not 7, it is now 8. So you are going to have ID not acceptable, please try again. Or if I have the length is 7 but instead of m I've mistakenly written n. That means it would pass the first check, the length is 7 but the first equals to 80m would fail. This is 80n. So that again you are going to have an error. And or if you have something like well, the last check is really 1 2 3 or 4. The last check would always be passed, but you get the idea how this works. If any of these checks are not fulfilled, then you get an error message. Next one we have is a presence check, and it simply checks that some data have been entered and the data field is not empty. It can be applied in an algorithm by using this. If name, email address, age or whatever you want equals to double inverted commas, means if it is equals to blank, then output required, means this field is required, you cannot leave it blank. Last validation check which we have is known as check digit, and it is the final digit entered in a code to confirm that data is received correctly. Again, this check digit is covered in more detail in section number 2, methods of error detection, so you don't really need to worry yourself about it. Last but not the least, if the examiner wants you to calculate check digit, then it is going to give you steps in the question. So you simply convert those steps into a sensible algorithm and you would be good enough. That's it for today's lecture, and these are all the points that you need to study or consider for validation and verification. So I hope you have understood everything. If you haven't, please feel free to ask me. Put your comments down below. Please subscribe and support me. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next lecture. Allah Hafiz.